I had the opportunity to interview Nicolas Ardey, who is the executive director of Volkswagen Group Innovation, over a year ago. And I think at those time, Volkswagen has just launched their venture client unit and was about to launch their own CVC. And I think it is definitely time to sit again with Nikolai and understand what has been the progress that Volkswagen Group has done on these two fronts.
Yeah, thank you, Alberto. So it's a huge pleasure to talk again to you.
It's always a pleasure, Nikolai. And again, we met in Paris at the end of last year for the Corporate Startup Stars Awards. It's always a good opportunity to touch base in person. And I think it was also good for the broader audience to get a better sense of how much progress a big group like Volkswagen is doing on the open innovation front. The last time that we spoke, you have just launched the Venture Client Initiative. And again, you have a big task for trying to a bit coordinate the effort among multiple brands. Again, that is the reality of a big group like Volkswagen, and you're about to launch the CVC. So I think it might be good for us to hear from you in terms of what has been the journey thus far, and then we will deep dive on both of them a bit more with more details. So where do you want to start, venture client or CVC?
Yeah, perhaps at very first at our internal configuration. So it's even not only the number of brands which are partially also positioned in very different areas and partially even competing each other to serve them with in regard of innovation. It's also that each brand has a set of small innovation units in different areas which have been so far acting separately. And one of our main tasks and also meanwhile also achievements is to set up an internal innovation network, acting like a social network platform, accompanied by a management of the whole ecosystem with events and also crowd challenges for innovation to enable this powerful innovation system to work together and to build on each other and to network and know about the innovation activities of all the others. And with that means these many small units having in some cases not the critical mass to be really effectful and powerful, now set up a powerful network with a huge budget as a total in the whole group. And this networking initiative is something which we have see a big potential. So this is one achievement which is already launched internally and will be further improved during the next years, and where we are also a little bit proud about. And in fact, yes, we also started intensively this venture clienting initiative together with external partners, and it ramped up really very fast. So our feedback is that we might be even the fastest to ramp up such a venture client system. Of course, taking advantage of all the learnings of our predecessors, which have been doing a really pioneer job in that regard. And yeah, we could build on that, and now we can already look back to quite a number of POC projects resulting from this venture clienting initiative, impacting our business with at least a multiple of 10 in relation to the investment we did into those POC projects. And it's a very fast method, and a big achievement has been already also to install tailor-made processes which enable us meanwhile to even set up an NDA within 24 hours rather than half a year, which we had which has been the case before. And also our purchasing processes are tailor-made for this venture clienting, so we are able also to onboard those companies really very quickly, at maximum 1 week, and we have those companies on board to perform common POC projects. So it was a big success or step for us to leave the corporate purchasing and legal processes, which have been just too slow to act together with the external innovation ecosystem. And this is a role model, meanwhile, within the company, which will be also copied for any other department where it is appropriate. Of course, it's not appropriate to apply those processes where we have to handle €1 billion risks. That's clear. Liability risk, that's pretty clear and crystal clear. But for those processes where we have to be quick and have to act on a high speed, and where the risk involved is rather low in terms of or in respect of liability and so on, it is a welcome method now in our company.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think so. It's substantially the way you follow is you have a sort of a special process for onboarding startups, for onboarding new suppliers in project deals whose amount is reasonably low. That is the problem where most of the time
you need good engaged process partners in the company who are willing to support it. And in some cases, it is of advantage to employ those processes into your own division. Like we have a legal colleague in our innovation team, which is quite unusual normally. But with this legal colleague, we could speed up the legal processes to a huge extent. And it's also sometimes it's just the interface to the neighbor departments, supporting departments, just understanding our needs much better than those colleagues who are a little bit farther from innovation.
Yeah.
And do you have venture clienting does not work for everything. Of course, you can deploy the more mature solutions by venture clienting. If you are looking for something more innovative and less mature, then you might do it by other kind of cooperations with other partners, or sometimes by yourself.
Do you have any success stories success stories, some good example of innovation that you were able to onboard in this first period of activity?
Well, the very first has been a very simple example with a big impact. It was pain point, which we have been told by the HR department. They needed a solution for all the colleagues who had to, how should I call it? I don't know, to just prove their hours and write down their working hours when they don't have any Wi-Fi access to our system. And this took, or this takes every employee, say, a few minutes a day. And we found a solution, how they could do it much quicker, much more easy, and they can do it also in a completely offline situation. And this saves our group, our HR department, at least 12 million euros a year if you accumulate the savings. Just one simple example where a small POC project just generates a huge business impact. And well, there's another more technical topic where we provided a solution to our carrier, which is able to predict the intention of a driver in a car in order to provide them the best appropriate service out from any sensing in the vehicle. So this is another of those examples, and there are already, this is a big list already.
That's interesting, and I think for looking particularly at the automotive sector, where typically the launch of new project is a multi-year plan, the ability to identify some solutions that are definitely faster to be adopted is important, also to prove the methodology, and then probably to start entering the big game, that is how we can innovate the next vehicle that you put on the road by the end of this decade. This is probably the big question mark that you have. It's difficult to start from there, but it's easy probably to start with more limited innovation that are there's some quick wins that you can show the value of the methodology, and then partly moving to something. Moving the discussion to the other big news of this year, you finally launched the CVC of Volkswagen Group. But by the way, it's not labeled as Volkswagen, and I remember you mentioned me that is a CVC without the C or something like that. It's quite a novel approach. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, sure, my pleasure. It's operative since October last year. Beginning of October, we officially started to prepare the first investments, and meanwhile we did 3 of them. In fact, yes, we skipped the C, the first C from the CVC, and it's completely set up and constructed like a conventional VC. So there's no any control. There's of the Volkswagen Group on the completely independent VC. They just got the money from Volkswagen, except the GP commitment the GP did by themselves. And there are 3 managing directors leading the investment team, the GP organization, and it's located in Palo Alto and in Berlin for Europe and the US branch. And this is also our main regional focus at the beginning. And we are looking into mainly decarbonization technology as a first scope of our VC activities. And while it's not controlled and there's no decision to be aligned with Volkswagen Group so far, the VC would do by themselves. And they also have the full responsibility for any due diligence topics. That's their business. But on the other hand, of course, we take the maximum we can take as an advantage to support the VC by our corporate. So we have set up an organization within the group innovation and also our M&A department to support the VC fund with our scouting network at first, with our technical expertise for also any feasibility studies and so on. And also we organize with our team the potential onboarding of the portfolio companies in order to help them to scale. That means that we provide them the opportunity to collaborate with us, to perform common projects, to also figure out if we could be a potential customer for those companies, or help them to find other customers. But there's one thing which is very important. We don't claim any exclusivity against those portfolio companies. Even if they provide a very interesting innovation, which could be of advantage for us if we would claim exclusivity. But this would contradict the primary target or goal of this VC activity, to have an attractive financial multiple. This is the overall, of course, target of such a VC activity. Of course, also to boost innovation, but in the very first priority, it's a financial multiple which has to be supported. And this cannot be done by claiming exclusivity, because exclusivity would limit the market for the venture.
Yeah.
And so if there would be a startup which seems to be that relevant that we might need exclusivity, then of course this could become an M&A case.
Yeah.
But when we talk about the venture capital, then it's something which should not be connected too much to the Volkswagen Group. We just support the fund with the aim to help the companies to grow.
And just talking about, again, we mentioned, again, obviously, I have two questions actually for you. Number one is, which is the stage of the companies that you invest in? Because there is a big debate, again, has been triggered by, for example, Allianz, with Allianz X, and Allianz X is positioned to invest only late stage. Late stage is Series Ds and beyond, so meaning very mature companies, because they say, we are not here to or try to picking some early trends. We want just to get something that might be interesting at a certain point to help the company to launch new businesses. So it's better to work with something that is already mature enough. Obviously, automotive is slightly different, but what is the approach of
I think the sweet spot of our fund is mainly in this region of Series C. Of course, also looking into B and D, but the sweet spot is mainly C. And there's a strategy with a certain share of each of these levels with to a certain extent. The reason is just at first, we are not so experienced in that field, so we are not able to take too much risk. The earlier you go, the higher the risk involved. And if you look from a statistical point of view to the age of those companies, then you will see or realize that there's quite high dynamics in the very early stage. Of course, many companies to be founded or to be to leave the incubation phase, and surviving until Series C or Series D, it's with a meaningful business dimension, is about 5% of the original figure. So that already shows that if you would like to somehow keep your risk under control, you should go a little bit into the later stage, unless you would not combine it with a comprehensive program of also educating your companies. So if you look to those incubator funds or very early stage funds, those who are really successful provide, of course, education of the management. They provide a lot of networking of those funds. It takes you quite a lot of effort, and you need also a certain critical size of organization to manage those many very early and seed investments in a way that in average it evolves as something which shows sustainable growth. There are certain very good examples out there, but this needs a completely different type of organization like we could provide with our VC, with a very limited staff to manage, and also experience. We don't have so much experience to do these early stage investments.
I think you made a very good point. That is the minimum size of the activities you work with. I think the mismatch between size is a big topic when we talk about open innovation. Obviously, large organizations prefer to work with sizable organization, way more innovative, but still, when you go below a certain threshold, you enter in a totally different category. We have seen from the market there are some attempts from some corporates to move a bit more early, both on the venture client and both on the CVC side. I think probably, if I have to refer to a couple of examples, one is Iberdrola, that is trying to combine venture client and CVC to try to be able to work a bit more earlier down in the curve. Total Energies, actually, they move out from the CVC for launching something that is in between pre-industrialization, acceleration, again, to work hands-on, but then requires totally different capabilities, meaning the capability of the venture builder. That is a different tool that requires different expertise, different know-how, and I believe might be triggered in a very, very, very strategic way and a very, very selective way. Because I think the biggest mistake on the venture building part is try to industrialize it, to make a sort of innovation factory. By most of the case, you can do it, but it will be probably very, very project financing-like initiative when you go one by one and try to find which is the best way to help them out. That is totally different topic, a totally different expertise.
Yeah, the challenge you have if you are in the very early stage is that you on purpose even you generate a lot of companies which end up in a so-called zombie mode. The corporate like we are is a little bit challenged to handle those many of those let's say zombie kind of companies keeping their business somehow but not significantly scale up, and you need a little bit of specialized organization to manage this kind of companies. There's many companies you will sum up with or end up with an early stage fund. There are several very successful organizations like Energy is a configuration which shows how successful it could be to be in this early stage as an incubator or early stage investor, providing exactly the organization and also methodology to manage this such a portfolio with companies which are not so successful, which you have to educate, which you have to also perhaps to drop off at a certain point and to involve new ones or to bring the business together. You have to be more a business angel in that direction than we could be as an investor.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. What you've learned down the way again, venture client, CVC again on the CVC. What is the right choice that you did, and what has been something that you a bit miscalculated before launching? Talking about the CVC.
Yeah, of course, we have quite a number of learnings. It was a long journey to launch our CVC or VC. At first, of course, it took quite a while to convince the board about this really independent setup of our VC. But on the other hand, it has been highly appreciated in the market to have this really VC set up, having not the C in front of it. This has been really, we got a lot of very good feedback from established funds, from other partners and investors. So it convinced us to follow on this route. Well, this worked out really well, and we already have proven that we get really good access to the market with this approach. And the only thing which we quite underestimated before we have been able to finally launch our fund has been all these commercial processes and antitrust topics which we had to consider in front of the launch, because it's for a corporate like Volkswagen, which is active in so many countries and markets. It's quite an effort you have to take to realize or to work out that it is really possible in any country with all these authorities to launch the fund, and to have to convince them that you don't generate, of course, any antitrust impact to the market. Of course, you don't get any market control with this VC activity, but it's just nobody cares about the content in that regard. It's a pure formal thing, and you have to convince colleagues who are completely not part of the innovation ecosystem. So this is a hard journey, which takes a while, which we did not expect so far. And also all the consolidation rules, governance rules within a corporate like Volkswagen is also something which might become a hurdle, which takes a while to overcome. But finally, we did it.
But because just to help all the audience to understand, the new fund is independent, is separately managed. Currently, the LP is still Volkswagen Group, right?
Yes, it's still Volkswagen Group at the moment, but we intend, of course, to open it up for other LPs, and there will be financial rounds and closings following to the end of this year and beginning of next year.
Okay. And what are the next plans on the CVC side? What you have in the back burner? So.
Oh, well, at first we are to prove that we will be successful with our first one, which is, of course, at first a challenge for us. But there are, of course, further plans to expand towards other topics, because our first fund is dedicated to decarbonization technologies. But of course, for automotive business, there are many other areas of interest for innovation. All the digital areas, autonomous drive and whatever. That's the first aspect to expand, and the other one is the regional one. At first, of course, our US and European fund will also expand towards Israel as an innovation ecosystem, and there will be perhaps also a subsequent venture capital activity in China, which acts on completely separate rules and has to be done in a completely separate way, of course. But this will be in the shadow of our experience, which we just make, and there's no decision so far at the moment. So we have to prove our success, but then we have to be very quick to launch all the subsequent activities. And of course, one of our role models in that direction is BMW, and also others who meanwhile need numbers to count their individual venture capital funds in certain areas.
Finally, just to close up, if you need to identify some KPIs, some indicators to measure the value that you're producing for the group, which one would you use? Obviously, different tools, different KPI, different indicators. What, again, if you need to pitch to your board in terms of that's the work that we've been done, this is the result we're producing. So what could be the top one, top threes indicators that you use to support the good work that you've been doing?
When we talk about the venture capital activities, it's very easy. It's at first, of course, the financial multiple which we organize with the fund. That's here the primary target. On the other hand, of course, our intention is to boost innovation in the company by the venture capital fund, and that means that we also set a target to have at least, let's say, 20 to 30% of the portfolio companies to be strategically coherent with Volkswagen, and where we could onboard the companies in a way that we provide collaboration access and also scale up support. So this is something which somehow would summarize the main major KPIs of the fund. Of course, the fund itself has quite a number of KPIs, how fast they ramp up the investment should be done in the first 3 years mainly, and then we enter the in and out phase and so on and so on. But this is somehow conventional VC business. Yeah. And well, when we talk about our venture clienting, it's the overall business impact which we generate with our venture clienting system. So we have in mind something like a snowball system. We just started with it. We have it under operation for 1 year now. So next year we have a certain volume planned for our venture clienting activities, purely financed by my team. And there is a multiple of 10 again of business impact, the minimum which we are also optimistic to reach. And the intention there is that this will get also a multiple in regard to application in other departments. So the intention is that we have multipliers in other divisions, other brands, other departments who also launch venture clienting activities, and then we generate a network in the whole company about that. When we talk about our innovation portfolio, there are several KPIs. The one which is, of course, in the center is the degree of transfer, the transfer rate. That means how many of our innovation projects will be accepted by the serious development departments and will enter the projects and finally land on the public road and in front of the customer. It's I think the key and basic and main KPI for any innovation department. And behind that, there is a lot of conventional KPI stuff like budget compliance, like project quality, how how reliable we are in regard to milestones and so on and so on.
No, but I like, and just to close our discussion, I take your final line is at the end, your ultimate goal is putting innovation on the road.
Yeah.
And that's, we know that given the automotive process is not something that can be measured overnight, in a week or so, but something that requires some time. So we need to build time in order to be able to put material and disruptive innovation on the road. But I'm pretty sure you are on the way, at least. And so congratulations for all the good work that you guys have been doing. Again, Nikolai, under your leadership, I think Volkswagen has moved faster in this direction. And let's continue our conversation, because probably we need to touch base in a year or so to see how much progress has been done and how closer you are to the goal is putting more innovation on the road.
You're very optimistic. Thank you very much.